So let's take this PM example. Now for this one here, I'm going to start a new chat here just to clean up the view a little bit. And so in this one, we're gonna create a project plan. So we're gonna create a project plan to implement Microsoft Copilot within the, let's call it IT department. Let's just say there. We're gonna do that. So that's it. We're gonna create a project plan to implement in the Copilot within the IT department. And so when I go to create a project plan, I might say, well, I don't know what comes first, Patrick. This is really common. I've seen this even with really experienced technical people and project managers like, well, what comes first? I need an expert in Copilot to tell me that. And this is where I really love what this does for a worker is instead of telling it what to do, I'm going to ask it to provide a outline that be recommended. And then we're going to do this and ask it that like we want to get this done in the next time, implement the plan in 90 days. So we're just going to say what are the examples of that and what are some other recommendations for this plan. Now you see here, I'm going to intentionally make a typo, and Copilot really doesn't care about the typo. It just ignores me, which is kind of nice as you go through it. ChatGPT, the same. And so here I am, I've got it in, and again, I'm not that experienced project manager. I've been given this assignment, and what it did was it put this together here, and it gave me a project plan outline. So I don't know if this is what I need yet, but I didn't know where to begin. And that question of like, well, why don't you tell me where to begin? That's one way to teach for yourself, but also to teach your team how this tool can help them learn. And that's a big power of it. Learn and explore new ways and new ideas and new topics that they didn't know what was possible. So instead of just using the AI to create content and use it and to get something done, we're actually using the AI to help us learn and explore things that we previously didn't have knowledge of. So here it is. I've got this list. I've actually got, this is pretty elaborate. I've got phases that go into it. And, I've got days 46 to 75. So I'm going to do something a little bit different here because I don't know. I'm like, this sounds like a lot of work. I don't know if this is realistic. I'm going to ask it to provide time estimates for each of the bullets. So let's see what it comes back with. So again, this is another really hard thing for folks to do when they don't have experience. Project planning or this type of work is we're going to see if it goes through, and you see it's going to give me some time estimates here. It's going to say for some of these items, now it didn't do it in the bullets, but it said for each of these subcategories, testing, user training, it's giving me days. So it's giving me calendar days. It's not giving me hours estimates. So that's something I might ask it to help me with. But it is giving me a breakdown of how things are going to work. So if you have someone who is working on a project they've never done before, one of the weaknesses that they have is, being able to time estimate, to provide time estimations so they can accurately hit the deadline that they said they're going to hit. So this is a really difficult thing for most people to do. Even, it's difficult to achieve time estimates even when you're working on something you've done before, right? There's always some risk factor involved here, but it's even more precarious when you talk about somebody who's never done it before, and now we're trying to help them learn how to build a plan and provide time estimates. Now, I would tell you that, I would, as a manager, go through this. Of course, I would look at it together with the individual. I say, I think we're taking on a little too much. They go, great, because I was really worried about this. It seems like too much to me as well. And we're going to go through that and break down that plan. But, there's something to work with here. I can go into any of these areas, right? Like testing, conduct unit testing, right? So here's this whole section here. And I'm like, as you might be as well, if you're looking at this and saying, what is unit testing? and perform integration. What is this even talking about? So I might tell it to provide explanation and resources to learn about this. So that's what we're going to do right now. Provide explanations and additional resources from reputable sources. This is my little catch here. I highly recommend you say things like this, like from reputable sources. It's really important. And you might even say from reputable online sources, including the URL to the resource on, and then we're going to paste those in on those things. So now let's see what it produces. So now I'm using this tool. I'm using it to go through and teach me. So this is my on the fly teaching. In distance learning or digital learning, we call these learning objects. I'm asking the question and it's putting forth just the information when I need it. That is, the instructional design, technology, training type world has been trying to do this effectively for decades, right? And here we are, just by asking one question, we're breaking down different things of what these things mean. So I, as the person who owns the plan, have a better understanding of what it's producing. Again, really very, very powerful part of what I did is I asked it a question right here. Here it is, provide explanation, additional resource, blah, blah, blah. And I asked it of a section of it I didn't know anything about. This is really important because oftentimes I will see individuals when I teach them how to use the AI tool, they will take it and it'll come out and they'll treat it like it's a Google search and say, here you go. And then I'll ask them, did you read it? And they go, well, yeah. And I'm like, do you know what it means? And they go, no. And that's where I have to push back to them and say, well, let's go back to your chat session where you came up with this, and let's go back and let's figure out everything in this plan that you don't understand. You don't understand what it means or what it does. Because if it's your plan, you need to understand it. That's what I'll say to my team. And this is a great way to work even interactively with, with a team member, with someone that you supervise, right? With another department. This is a great way to learn about these things and share them and build knowledge together. It's so fast to do that. Well, I don't think that you can do all learning, just to be clear, that you can do all learning and research just by relying on these tools today. We don't have enough transparency in just using the off-the-shelf generative AI tools like Copilot or ChatGPT or so forth. We don't have enough understanding under the hood of what's happening. They're not transparent enough for us to figure out, is this information completely valid? That is absolutely true. That is always a concern, that you may be getting incomplete or inaccurate information. So we're just getting a snippet of information. You can see here, this still requires going and looking at some of these resources that have been provided to me and seeing if that information is true. That's just part of learning. And I still strongly recommend that you do that so people don't become reliant that, well, since it came out of the digital tool, the Copilot, therefore it should be good enough and no one's going to question it at all. That is definitely not the case. So, but again, as you move through this content, you begin to really get a nice, clear picture about all the things that I might want to learn before I go and take my plan and present it to my boss. And I didn't really know what I put together, right? So that's the starting place on it.